Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 47 of Quattroporte, the review series for Gran Turismo's selection of sports all the way up to super saloons or sedans depending on where you live. And Japan is known for primarily, of course, sports sedans rather than super sedans or super saloons. They do have some, but most of their high-performance four-doors tend to be on the sports side of things, and a few of them, two in particular, are of course competition inclined vehicles, the Evo and the Impreza in particular, designed for rallying in their ultimate forms, and to some degree they tend to have the same advantages and disadvantages as each other, and that goes for each different generation for the most part as well. Now, I'm not going to say that this Impreza is revolutionarily different than any of the others. It's not. You get the same basic advantages and disadvantages. But, that being said, it is slightly different in some ways, and those ways are to be noted for a potential buyer. Now, interestingly, this is the only version of the kidney-shaped grille version of the Impreza, which is probably my personal favourite Impreza visually that we have on the game. And appropriately, it's the Spec C model, which is one of the more desirable ones to go for. You get the typical 2-litre turbo boxer engine that you'd expect in an Impreza, the all-wheel drive package that is obvious by now, and a, I would say, middle-of-the-line spec. It doesn't have an insane amount of power, but it's certainly nowhere near being low-powered. It produces 571 horsepower in top-level tune, and a very impressive 541 foot-pounds of torque. Now, as far as weight, this particular model weighs 1138 kilos, puts out 502 horsepower per tonne, and has a maximum PP of 581. Now, all of that comes at a price which, like pretty much all of the other Imprezas, is very good value. You get a lot of performance for the price, just like with the Evo, and a few others as well, not necessarily just Japanese ones. Now, as far as price, it costs just over 38 grand, and for that you get an Impreza which can launch off the line with roughly the same kind of acceleration that you'd expect from some tuned supercars. It does have good acceleration off the line, especially for its power. Top-end performance on this particular model is not bad. Many of the Imprezas and also the Evos tend to hover around a similar kind of top-end speed. Some are definitely faster than others, but they're all in a similar kind of range. They tend to be between 220 and 235 miles per hour, which is a relatively narrow range given how many different vehicles we're talking about. This particular model sits within that range as well. So performance for its power, and for a sports sedan in general, is good. But at the same time, of course, I don't think anyone would really expect it to take on something like a Charger, a C63, an E55, an M5, etc. in a straight line. It just doesn't have that kind of power. Now, it could have that kind of power were it allowed to be tuned to the level that it arguably deserves to be, but as we've mentioned before in episodes featuring these kind of cars in particular, they're just not allowed to be tuned that far at the moment, and hopefully that'll be something solved, or at least resolved to some degree, in the future of Gran Turismo. Now, this particular model, I would say, is actually notable over some of the other Imprezas, because when you come to buy a vehicle like that, and let's say you're not the biggest fan of the car, you're just looking to buy one, and you're looking to get the best all-round package, well, I'm not necessarily saying that this is the best all-round package, but a couple of the reasons why I think this one is notable and a very serious option that you should think about is because, for one thing, it's a premium, and that is relatively rare for the Imprezas. Not many of them are, especially the older models. The price is very good, and so is its all-round package. Some of the other Imprezas have slightly more of a downside to this one. This is a very dependable, strong, all-round car. It's also the only model, as we said, of this style of Impreza, which is notable as well. And also, I would say that this is possibly, in my opinion, and it is just that, my opinion, possibly the best handling version of the Impreza road car on the game. The newer model became a little bit too soft, a little bit too heavy in the way it handles, in my opinion. The older models are a little bit less forgiving, they're more focused. This car is, I think, a happy medium between the two. The handling is outstandingly good, there is a huge amount of grip, and it deals with the power and torque that it has remarkably well. But at the same time, it's not overly cushy or forgiving as the newer model has a tendency to be. This car is before the time when the Evo and the Impreza, to some degree, became a little bit too sensible. They're still good, but they kind of lost, to some degree, that raw edge that they had before. This car is probably the latest generation that kept that. So if you are looking for certainly a capable track machine for tracks which are more technically based rather than top-end based, then this is definitely a dependable car to go for. It has some very nice body modifications as well. It can be fitted with things like a body kit, upgraded rear wing, if I remember correctly also a flat floor. So you've got options there that you can work with that many of the other Imprezas don't. So overall, being an Impreza, it's a strong performance car, and it has pretty much the same downsides as the others, which is primarily top-end power. But overall, that's it for this particular episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.